Everybody is talking.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. We're ready to begin. This is the District 99 meeting. Today is May 20th. It is 7:30 p.m. and we'll call the roll. This is Nancy Kupka, Board President.
Nancy, we already called.
Oh, we already called it?
That's right.
I'm still learning.
That's right.
Roll determine there's a quorum.
We have determined there's a quorum. Thank you, sir. We've just come out of closed session. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll move to the approval of minutes, both for the May 6th special meeting and the May 6th closed meeting. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Nancy, can you take the mic, please? Nancy?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Thank you.
Member Pavicic moves.
Second.
Member Davenport seconds. Do we need a roll or can we do ayes?
Roll call.
Okay.
Terry Pavicic.
Aye.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Keith Mattoon.
Aye.
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
Julia Beckman.
Aye.
Deb Boyle.
Aye.
Nancy Kupka.
Aye. Thank you. Moving on to the first reception of visitors. This is the opportunity for any audience member to address the board about any agenda item on which we are planning to vote today. Is anybody interested? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the recommendations and reports of the superintendent. Dr. McDonald.
Thank you, Dr. Kupka. My reports will be brief. First report regards the change in of the school calendar for the current school year. The board will recall we were forced to close school due to the flooding. I believe that was April 15th. 18th? Thank you, Mrs. Power. As our typical practice, in order to have the requisite number of days in the school year, we have added one day to the calendar. Fortunately, we did not, at the April board meeting, approve the final calendar, ergo, we were able to do that. So tonight, in addition to adding a day to the calendar, which means the last day for students will be May 31st, the last day for staff will be June 3rd, we'll also be approving the calendar as the final calendar, meaning we will no longer require the use of those 4 remaining emergency days. And hope we have no emergency in the last 9 days of the school year coming up.
It's tornado season.
Any questions about that?
Do you need the motion?
No, we're gonna, that's part of the consent agenda.
Okay.
The board should be aware there were 4 Freedom of Information requests made during the previous month. All 4 were addressed and answered by Mr. Stalen.
Any questions?
Point of order?
Sure.
I think we need to approve minutes. I think, we skipped over that?
Did?
No, we
Did we
No, we
approve?
approved.
approved them. We voted.
Oh, sorry.
Second.
So you were in my mind. I'm the one out of order. My apologies.
Point
to
of
all.
order, that's fine. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. Does any member have questions on an item in the consent agenda that they wish to discuss?
No? Good. So move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion to adopt. Anybody second?
Second.
Mr. Davenport seconds. I'm going to recuse myself from this vote as I am familiar with the family of one of the members up. Joanne?
Terry Pavicic.
Aye.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Keith Mattoon.
Aye.
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
Julia Beckman.
Aye.
Deb Boyle.
Aye. So carried. Yeah?
Dr. Cuppy, if I could comment, the board has just appointed Mr. Scott Wugazer as Assistant Superintendent for Special Services, Ms. Janice Schwartz as Associate Principal for Curriculum Instruction at North, and Mrs. Kristen Borman as Assistant Principal for Student Activities at North. Congratulations to them.
Congratulations.
since we have, obviously in the audience, we have members of the lacrosse program, the board is just approved as a District 99 program, non-funded at this time, but a District 99 program, boys and girls lacrosse. And we would acknowledge that. Acknowledge them for all the effort they put forward to educate us about lacrosse and many meetings they attended and the great patience they showed during the process. We'd acknowledge that.
Future lobbyists of America.
They just can't seem to move.
Okay, anything else, Dr. Rico?
Nothing else at this time.
Okay.
Congratulations,
Gentlemen,
guys.
congratulations. Now we expect a winning season.
Yeah, that's right.
Recommendations for action, awards of bids?
Actually, the first one is a approval of district auditor services, and I'll ask Mr. Stalen, the controller, to explain that action item and give the board a sense of where we're going with it.
Right. You have in front of you, in the packet, you have the recommendation. We have some. That's why you want to. Okay, this is a low seat. Move this up. All right. Thank you, Jill. The recommendation for appointment of an auditor, we don't have a rotation policy. That's on the second page of the memo. I think that's really what I'd like to key on here is that the last time we approved an auditor actually was a rollover of a 5-year contract for our prior auditor, William F. Curry, but then... Now, these guys like the auditor that we have right now. So, they'd like us to keep them? No, in the middle of the second 5-year period, they wanted an increase that was about 17% increase in their contract for some changes in standards. And they said required more work. We didn't feel that was appropriate, and we just changed at that point to a new firm. And so there is a benefit of having multiple year contract with auditors, but and there is a possibility that you may want to have a 5-year rotation. That's not uncommon in schools, but it's also just as common to have a standard contract that stays with the particular auditor. I do compare it to the same as a legal service procurement, where you stay with your attorneys because a lot of the decisions you make at some point they have to live with going forward, and if you keep rotating attorneys, you get a whole nother opinion on different things. It's not quite as strong with auditors, and so I leave it to your discretion. If you're at all uncomfortable with us not rotating auditors, there's a second one that I would choose. The incumbent is, it took them 4 or 5 years actually to get us into their schedule. We could actually get our financial statements done and prepared and to you on a more timely basis. Even though a new auditor would say that they can fit us into their schedule, I know that they're fitting us into their schedule and that we may go back a little bit longer than what we got with our incumbent. So it's certainly up to you. My recommendation is to stay with Miller and Cooper. The prices between them were almost identical over a 5-year period of time. We're talking a few $100 difference. And but my second choice, if you weren't comfortable, then would be Baker Tilly. So again, my recommendation is for Miller Cooper, just in case. That's what the memo would read.
Any discussion about the Baker Miller?
Pardon?
Any discussion, any questions?
Yeah, I do. I'm glad that you answered a lot of this in here because those were some of the questions I had, and I think I asked you about that the last time, wondering. I think right off the bat, my intuition always tells me it's nice to change just to get a fresh set of eyes and maybe a different perspective on all of the auditing procedures and all of that. I'm willing to go with your recommendation, but I think and you said in here that even with our own firm, they do
rotate people?
We'll have a new partner on this engagement already. We already know that, and we know, they just changed their audit team last year, so last year was the first year with this audit team. Neil Barnard was our audit in charge. So they do rotate staff. I didn't mean to cut you off, I apologize. But in the part of that memo where I say that they do things to rotate services, that's one of the things that they do, rotate staff too.
Because my only fear was that, when you're with one firm like that everybody, and I'm not accusing everybody of being complacent, but it can become complacent where you're so familiar with the way that somebody does something that they're not really looking outside of that to catch anything if there was something to catch. So I don't know how anybody else feels about it, but I think you answered a lot of my questions that I had originally, and I didn't know what best practice really was, what the standard was, if it was better to change firms or to stay with a firm.
Right, I don't know that there's a defined best practice. It's a comfort level, so. An individual, you may have a different comfort level, and I really am absolutely fine with either one. So if you're not comfortable, I would be just as comfortable with you saying, let's go to Baker Tilly, if for appearances or whatever. I'm not offended by it at all.
I think that the peer reviews and that changing of the staff, and some of that's there just to maybe avoid some of the complacency concerns or things like that. So it sounds like get the best of both worlds, and so I certainly see the argument in keeping that consistency. So,
Thank you.
Any other questions? Or Deb, did you want to advocate for changing?
Oh, no, I'm perfectly comfortable. Those were the questions that I
Okay.
had. Because like I said, those were my original misgivings about keeping the same firm, but I think that you've allayed my reservations about that, so thank you.
Thank you.
Purchase of real estate?
Well, we have to, it's an
We
action
have to do an action, excuse
Need
me.
a resolution, or
A motion to
a
adopt?
motion to
Right, the motion to approve
the hire of,
Miller Cooper. You really are hiring them for next year. It's a 5-year commitment on their price. At any point, we become displeased with them, we could leave them. So it's just for the 1 year. I think it's 2012-13. I don't have the memo in front of me, but I think it's 30.
So we have to do this every year then?
Well, each year we'll reapprove them.
Approve it
But this is a 5-year, I asked for a 5-year commitment when I sent out the request for proposals.
Oh, okay.
I will move
Member Beckman moves.
to approve the proposal as is presented.
do you have to have the name, Joanne? I'm sorry.
Want me to name it into the record or just?
I know,
Okay.
that's fine.
Sorry, Miss.
I'll put it in the record.
I'll second.
Oh, I
Oh,
seconded.
sorry, I didn't hear you. Terry Pavasich seconds.
Julie Beckman,
Aye.
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Rick Pavanato,
Aye.
Deb Boyle,
Aye.
Mike Davenport,
aye.
Keith Mattoon.
Aye.
Nancy Kupka.
Aye. It's approved. Okay, now we're going to move on to the purchase of real estate.
The board is heard in closed session details about purchasing real estate property, 4232 Bernard Avenue. Are there any additional questions?
I think it's a really good move.
Any questions, any comments? We'll invite a motion.
So moved.
Member Pavasich moves. I will second. Call the vote.
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Nancy Kupka.
Aye.
Julie Beckman.
Aye.
Deb Boyle.
Aye.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Keith Mattoon.
Aye.
Rick Pavanato.
Aye. And so the viewers are aware, the purchase of this property is to have a permanent location for a transition program that we think is an exceptional program, but has been displaced over the last year, so we're pleased to have now a permanent place for that.
And we anticipate that we will be in by the,
My second semester
Second
is the
semester.
anticipated schedule right now. There's quite a bit of build-out in the property. It's basically a shell of a building, and there's still some design work to be completed, and then the anticipated move date would be second semester, perhaps a little bit ahead of that, but second semester next year.
it's wonderful.
Very
These are
exciting.
coming?
And the location's 4232 Bernard, for those following along at home.
You can drive then. Okay, and the award of bids. Custodial maintenance and
gotta
grounds
vote.
supplies? You voted. Voted aye.
I'm sorry,
It's that kind of a day.
I'm not the only one. Thank you.
Just trying to make you feel good, Mike.
No more carbohydrates at dinner.
Mr. Schock, are you going to make this presentation
I will.
about the custodial maintenance and ground supplies?
This is our annual purchase of supplies for custodians, maintenance and grounds program at the two schools. We combine all of the products from the two schools and this building for purposes of best price. We had a number of interested bidders in this year. This recommendation really consists of two separate bids. One bid for custodial and maintenance supplies, and the other bid for ground supplies. There are different vendors that bid, but I combined them just for sake of simplicity. And out of the 11 bidders, 8 bidders had low unit prices for certain products. And so in the aggregate, the award would be for these 8 bidders, $106,757.84.
Do we hear a motion?
I'll move that we award the award of contracts for custodial maintenance and ground supplies to the 11 vendors as presented that submitted the lowest prices for one or more products in the aggregate amount of $106,757.84.
Thank you, Mr.
Any more?
Davenport.
Yeah.
Do we hear a second?
I'll second that.
Mrs. Beckman seconds. Please call the roll.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Julia Beckman.
Aye.
Deb Boyle.
Aye.
Keith Mattoon.
Aye.
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
Nancy Kupka.
Aye. Passed. Okay. Moving on to other old business, Policy Committee report, second reading. We are going to hold that report until such time as the new committee has had an opportunity to take its seat. Okay. Any objections or concerns? New business, appointment of board committees and liaisons. Thank you, everybody, for getting back to me. We have tried to couple people with their interests. We have a lot of people remaining on their old committees simply because they did such a great job at it. We appreciate everyone's flexibility. So on the Policy Committee, I'm appointing Rick Pavanato and Mike Davenport. Representative to IASB Governing Board and Delegate Assembly, Deb Boyle, has agreed to remain in that role. SACID, Beckman has agreed to remain with Terry Pavasich as the alternate. We actually had to get back to SACID on Friday to make their board meeting, so I apologize for sending that out a little bit early. Representative to LEND, Mr. Mattoon, has graciously accepted to remain on that. The financial
Early meetings.
early meetings. Financial Advisory Committee, again, Rick Pavitano and Deb Boyle. And Terry has graciously agreed to remain as the liaison to District 99 Education Foundation. And finally, Deb is going to remain the representative to the national affiliate of the NSBA. So thank you all. Any questions or comments? You know, this is a lot of work above and beyond just the work at the board. So we really do appreciate everybody's continued participation and dedication to the efforts of the board. Okay, are we missing any new business before we move on to reception of visitors?
You're not.
We are not, okay. This is the second reception of visitors. We'll invite anybody who wants to address any issue with the board to come forward to the microphone, please.
We have a taker.
Could you state your name and address, please?
Hi, John Gargiulo, 838 Sheridan Place. First time up here. No. Just kidding. Anyway, I just wanted to say, just thank you very much for, taking us through the appropriate process and working with us for the past 6 months. Dr. McDonald, really appreciate your patience with us and working with us through this, and made a whole bunch of kids happy, a whole bunch of future lacrosse players happy, both boys and girls, and my coaches and I, and our future staff, wherever they may be. We really look forward to making you guys really proud of us. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Of course, if you could get another cheer, that would be nice, too. You could get another cheer for us. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak with the board? hearing nothing, we will go on to the communications and announcements, the updates on the different committees. Mr. Mattoon, Lend.
Thank you. There is no report at this time. We will have our last meeting of the school year this coming Friday. There are 11 days left in the legislative session, and there should be some items related to pensions and other school matters that Peg Agnos, the executive director, will be keeping the board updated through Dr. McDonald. So please watch for those emails.
Could I ask a question, or maybe Dr. McDonald? Did I note in one of the memos we got from Len that the sending some of the costs back to the taxing districts for pensions is
Cost
sort of-
shifting?
The cost shifting is kind of back on the table, or?
Yes, it's kind of back on the table.
I'm not surprised.
I don't know how much it's back on the table, and that's what we're looking for a report on Friday about, but it is back on the table.
Okay, thank you. Have to watch out for that.
Anything else for Mr. Mattoon?
Oh, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, Mrs. Beckman, you have a report on SACID and the Illinois Humanities Council?
For SACID, just very briefly, I believe I may have mentioned the sadness at the last meeting that the assistant principal at the alternative school had died suddenly, actually late in the day on the job, and it was a real shock to the staff. But they've moved on, and they've had crisis intervention, and they've got some interim people taking him to the end of the year. But it was really a shock to everybody, and just makes us aware of how precious our days are. And also, I wanted to let new and even continuing board members know that SACID will be having an orientation for new board members and administrators in September. They've always tried to have it earlier, but through the summer, it just doesn't ever work, so now they're going to try a September one for anybody interested. And then we've also approved the creation of a full-time English language learner teaching position for the first time. That person will be available to the member districts, because that's getting to be an issue among special ed as well for English language. And then for the Humanities Council, thank you for allowing me to report on it. I did attend my first meeting in April, and it's a very exciting place to be. I'll just read very briefly that the mission of the Humanities Council, this is a state organization, but it is a private not-for-profit now, although there are appointees from the state and there's some funding from the state. But its programs and grants promote greater understanding of appreciation for and involvement in the humanities by all Illinoisans, regardless of their economic resources, which I like, cultural background, or geographic location. So it's a statewide organization. Many, many different programs, but I wanted to highlight one specifically, which I think is exciting. It's called the Capital Forum on America's Future, and it's based on a grant program out of Brown University, but there's also a new joint venture with Illinois State University, and it invites Illinois high schools, I think that's us, public and private, upstate and downstate, to apply for programs featuring competing visions of human rights, questions for U.S. policy. And it's one of this program's newest curriculum units. It's all on the website in case any of our faculty members are interested. Yes, and I can give you more information about it, too. Very exciting. And the first meeting I attended was at the Mexican Museum in Pilsen, which is a wonderful place and has received grants from the Humanities Council. And the next meeting will be at WBEZ radio station headquarters at Navy Pier, and they also are recipients of the grants. So it's a very exciting organization. I'll be bringing more news about it. But I love that high school thing.
Any questions for Mrs. Beckman? Mrs. Pavsich?
Well, the foundation, as you know, we had the Burger Wars with Tom and Eddie's in Lombard, and North won the Burger Wars with the Kevin Bacon Burger. And so congratulations to North on that. And so that was a fun experience.
Was it good?
It was very good.
Yes, for those of you who might have had the Kevin Bacon Burger. And we are working on getting the Pizza Wars going. So it should be very exciting. More food involved.
And remind me, what was the South Burger?
Oh.
South of the border?
I don't know. I can't remember.
I apologize.
I had
it. It was going to be a test.
Yeah. But I don't know. I don't remember. You know, I'm lucky to remember what I had for dinner tonight. So
Any
I'm
questions?
sorry.
I'm sorry, were you done, Tara?
Yeah, I'm done.
Any questions or comments from Ms. Pavsich? Does anyone else have anything they'd like to bring up from any committee meeting? Okay, moving on, we have some upcoming board meetings. We have graduation on May 31st.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Hard to believe.
And a business meeting at 7:30 on June 17th.
Correct.
Okay. Any other business, Dr. McDonald?
None.
We have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Member Pavasich moves, Member Beckman seconds. Please call the vote. We don't have to. Everybody say aye.
Aye.